guys, I'm Sarah. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you all the books I read in May. So my reading this month has been a little everywhere. Let's just put it that way. Mostly 4 stars and a lot of 3 stars. It seems to be kind of how the year's going so far, which is kind of interesting. I mean, the 4-star ones are fine. I kind of just assume with the way I rate books now that the majority of the books I read will be 4 stars, and I'm fine with that. Yeah, I have very few 5-star reads this year, and the 3 stars are just, it just happens. But I read some really good books. I also finished a series, I think just one. I caught up to another one. Yeah, I finished 2 series. Anyways, I did a lot of things. So, actually, I did things too, but I read a lot of things. Anyways, that is beside the point. I'm also very sorry that both my May wrap-up and my April one, which you will have seen before this one, sorry that they're so late, but we've got everything figured out with the family stuff, so I'm hopefully going to get back into a regular video schedule, but we'll see how it goes. I'm not making any promises, but I do want to get back into a regular schedule on this. I just have to come up with ideas for videos that I actually like. So, yeah, if anyone has any requests that they'd like me to do, feel free to leave them below in the comments, and I will take them into consideration with my video planning, because ideas would be appreciated. So, yeah, without further ado, we're just going to get into the books, but first, if you want further content details or more thoughts on all of these books, I will leave my Goodreads reviews to each and every one of them linked in the description, so you can check them out there. We're just going to dive into the first book, which... okay, this has been a frustrating trend I have noticed. I think every single month this year, I have started the year with either a DNF or a low-rated book. I do not know why. So far, I'm filming this in June, but so far, June has started actually with a book that I actually rated 4 stars. It's like the first one this year. It's really weird. I don't know why this is, but May was no different, and I started with a DNF, and that is The Herb Witch Princess by Irene Chow, I think is how you say the author's name. This is the sequel to The Herb Witch's Apprentice, which I read last year, I think. It was last year or the year before. I forget. Pretty sure it was last year. I'm 100%, actually not 100% sure. I'm about, I don't know, 50% sure. Who knows? Anyways, I got the sequel. I really wanted to try this. I don't remember the series name. I think it's on the cover that I'm showing on the screen, but I don't remember what it is. The Witches of Oldria, maybe? Is that the series name? I don't know. Either way, there's only 2 books in it so far. I don't know, novella. But this one, I DNF'd it like, I forget what. I think it was 26%, somewhere in the 20% range. So in this one, we follow one of the villains from the first book, but this is kind of like her redemption arc, I think. I didn't get far enough to really get to that part. This was more, I don't know, it was very depressing. I found this book extremely depressing, which is kind of strange considering it's like a light read. It's been described as kind of like a magical Regency era, where like, you know, they do like the balls and all the like fancy Regency stuff, the season, stuff like that. But also they have magic involved. It also has the feel of the older Barbie movies, like, you know, the Nutcracker, Rapunzel, Swan, like those types of movies. So, which I felt the first one felt more like that than this one. This one just felt extremely depressing to me. I am in the minority on this. Most people love this book, like even more than the first one. So, I am definitely in the minority, which is no surprise. But, yeah, I just found it really depressing because this girl was basically abused by her mother, like mostly verbally and emotionally, and they showed some flashbacks to that, and then she's not helping her own case by just always being so cold and reserved for everybody else. And her half-brother, I don't know if he was introduced in the first book, because if he was, I totally forgot about him. He was always just whining, and so at first when he showed up, I was thinking, oh, he's like a kid. He's like, you know, 6 or 12 or something like that. No, he's like a grown man, because their father's trying to get him to join the Royal Guard. and they don't have child soldiers in this kingdom, so I'm assuming he's old enough to enlist. Which makes the whining even worse, because now I'm just like, great, it's a man-child. No. Actually, it's just a whiny child. Just, ugh. And I don't know. No. That was grating on my nerves. Anybody who reached a hand to this girl trying to, you know, be nice to her or whatever, she kind of rebuffed, thinking like, oh, they just feel pity for me. Yeah, girl, they might, because you were abused by your parent. But, you know, it's just, I don't know. I just felt very depressed. Her own cat, who she can, because this girl, she has, magical abilities to be able to talk to animals. Even her own cat seemed kind of like, I mean, it's a cat, so okay. But also at the same time, her cat didn't even seem to like her much, and like, I don't know, I just felt very depressed reading this book, so I just quit, because I don't care. The prince that I think is gonna have a romance with is like a bored. He has no personality whatsoever, and I think from other reviews who didn't like this book as much, they said he basically stayed the same. There's not much romance apparently in this book, which, oh, I kind of was coming here for, like, I thought it was more of a romance story, and I don't know, I just didn't like it. So I DNF'd it. It could work for other people, obviously, but I just couldn't. So, yeah. Moving on. Next one I read, which I did enjoy, was My Hero Academia Volume 40. I am now caught up to what is published in the series. Actually, as of today, 41 has been published, but I don't have access to it right now. So, yeah, I have caught up. Obviously, I can't say anything about it except this cover with this particular character, who I also can't say for spoiler reasons, looks freaking epic. I gave it 4 stars. I loved it. We also got, randomly in this one, the villain's backstory. I was not expecting that, and it, like, fit for what was going on, and yeah. And 2 characters, what can I say without spoilers? Somebody I thought, wasn't gonna make it. I'll just put it that way. Actually, both of these characters I thought weren't gonna make it. They did, so I'm very happy about that. But with the way this volume ended, I'm very concerned for Deku, of, like, how in the world is he gonna win this? So, but hopefully either I'll get the volume, or hopefully my library will get it, and I'll be able to continue to 41 and find out. So I read several nonfiction this month too, and the first one I read was The Essential Manga Guide by Brianna Lawrence. This, I was hoping to get some more manga recommendations, because that's kind of what this is advertised as. I gave it 2 stars. A lot of the series are very popular ones, so it's like I've already heard of those, or I'd already tried or read those, and so I was kind of hoping it would be like more popular series, or more whatever, maybe some popular series mixed with some lower end series, which I guess it was. I don't know that a ton about manga to know for sure if there was an equal balance of that, because as far as I could tell, it was mostly skewed towards if you like gay romances, that type of thing, or just like that sort of feel to manga. That's kind of what more this book was skewed towards, so I feel like the title's extremely misleading, because that's only going to be essential for some people. I did find a few recommendations that I marked down, but not as many as I hoped, and I feel like this book is extremely misleading in its title, and I don't know, it really wasn't that helpful. So, yeah. And for one of the series I finished, I did read the final book in the Brothers Creed series, Last Hope by Joshua C. Chad. I gave this book 4 stars. This was a solid ending to the series, very satisfying, very emotional, because something happened that was alluded to, and without spoilers, I was kind of hoping it was a red herring, but it turned out not to be. But at the same time, it was like, without giving too many spoilers, it was one of the most satisfying sacrifice scenes I've ever read, which that's a big thing, because those scenes are very important to me in storytelling, and that one is definitely like one of the top ones, but I can't really say much more than that because it's a major spoiler. But the way it like affected the other characters and helped them in a way was very inspiring. So what is my hair doing? I have no idea. Anyways, please ignore my hair sticking out everywhere. Anyways, But yeah, really solid conclusion to the series. I really loved this one. And yeah, I'm very excited to... The author hasn't written anything else except a few stories and anthologies. I'm excited for whatever he writes next because I definitely am going to check it out. I'm on the fence of whether I would actually get this series physically or not. I have them all as ebooks, but it's definitely one of the ones I'm considering getting physically for my shelves at some point because I did really enjoy them, even though zombie apocalypse is very hard to find that is not extremely gory or it has extremely morally ambiguous characters. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, a really good one. Okay, so this is a series I can actually mostly hold up. And that is a spin-off series called My Hero Academia Team Up Missions. So this is written and drawn by a different mangaka than the original creator, because apparently they had a bunch of other ideas that I don't know who came up with all these different spin-off ideas, but the original creator has his hand in this, but he doesn't write and draw it. And this is just like a fun little side missions of just these different characters being teamed up together to do these little missions. Usually they're like what they call one-shots, which is like a one-chapter standalone type thing. So these are just various little adventures these various characters go on with different people mixed up with different pro heroes, or sometimes not at all, no pro heroes, it's just the students mixed up from different schools. The first volume I gave 3 stars to. It was a little stiff. I don't know if it's just because the mangaka was starting out, she was getting into these characters or what have you, but I didn't like this one as much. A few of the stories I really did enjoy. Then I read volume 2, which I gave 4 stars to. This one was much better. I laughed a lot in this one because these characters went on some wacky little adventures. I really enjoyed this one, so I gave this one 4 stars. And then my library did not have volume 3, but since you don't have to read these in order to keep up, I just went ahead and read volume 4 that they have. I also gave this one 3 stars. This one kind of went back to, I just didn't really care about most of them. There were a couple that were funny, and the last one, it's titled Ida's Manners. I didn't like that one at all. I thought the mangaka was kind of leaning too far into one particular aspect of Ida's character, and I felt like that was making him look extremely dumb, when these, like, villains are tricking him. It's like, yeah, he's pretty focused, but he would recognize something's off with these people. So I didn't like that. So I gave this one 3 stars. But all in all, this is a very fun series. Much more lighthearted than the main series right now. So if you need a little break from that and you're reading the main series, these are a good alternative. And I enjoyed them. As I keep forgetting this, I also participated in Book Lover Amanda's Southern Charm Readathon this year. I forgot to mention that at the beginning of the video because of course I did, because I'm just scattered all over the place. So, I did most of the prompts. I think there were 2 I didn't fulfill. The first one I did was for Last Hope. It was, well, look who it is, a book with more than one point of view. I used Last Hope for this one. I also used Happier Than a Pig in Mud, a book that brings you joy or makes you laugh. I used Team Up Missions Volume 2 for that because this one did make me laugh quite a bit. So, I'm going to try to remember to mention the other prompts that I did, but I'll probably just have to go back and either edit it in or, I don't know, try to remember something for once in my life. Anyways, then this book I've had my eye on for quite a while. I even spotlighted it in a, like, try the first few chapters video that I did a little while back, and that is Accidentally on the Run by Jess Drew. This is a superhero romance novella. I think it's a novella. This one, we follow 2 characters. I remember the guy's name. What was the girl's name? Anyways, I'm just gonna call her main female lead because I don't remember her name. His name is Gabe. Gabe has always had this, like, apparently ability to sense when there's trouble. He has, like, heightened intuition. So he's always been able to sense when there's trouble. He works on the New Jersey police force. And something goes wrong. This bomb that is on a bus, it goes off. But it doesn't harm anybody, which is kind of strange. But he's just like, okay, I'm just relieved that his best friend, the main female lead, whose name I cannot remember, she was on that bus. So, yeah, he's very happy that she and the other passengers were not harmed. But then his abilities start getting more and more heightened. Like, he's sensing dangers coming before anything's even happened. It's like getting crazy high. And then he starts getting these sort of threatening messages. But the straw that breaks the camel's back is when basically his police chief boss calls him in and says, yeah, the government has found out about your abilities. They're coming after you. You're going to have to get out of here. So he and his best friend, who she has refused to leave him because she knows about his abilities, and she's like, this is crazy. They can't do this to you. So they go on the run. And it goes from there. And also, they're like, she's loved him forever, but he's kind of like friend-zoned her. So she keeps trying to go out with other guys, and it doesn't work because she loves him. And then he eventually falls in love with her. It's one of those types of relationships. Okay, so for this one, it's a superhero story. The superhero stuff was very, very vague. Aside from his abilities, there's apparently this group of super people. I don't know if they're super villains or superheroes. I have no clue. I think they're villains. But it's very vague. The superhero stuff is very much on the back burner. It's there as like a dress piecing. It's there to show why they're on the run. It's there to add some different elements to it. The main focus is the romance on this one, which, as a novella, I'm totally fine with that. I thought the superhero elements in here were good, and I would really like it if the author ever expanded upon this world. And she mostly writes fantasy now, which is totally fine. But if she ever wanted to go back to this world and like expand the superhero world, I would be totally down for it, because I thought it was very interesting, the elements she did introduce. I was confused about some things. There were some strangely written sentences. This is one of her earlier works, so there were some strangely written sentences that kind of threw me out of the story a bit. I did really like both of our main characters. I really liked their romance. I kind of wanted to shake both of them several times, because just like, quit being so stubborn. Just admit you like each other already, okay? And yeah, I think this was a very fast-paced, very humorous, very sweet story with superhero elements, but more romance. So if you like that type of thing, like superheroes like me, but you kind of want more romance than some of those stories offer, this would be a good one to try. Just be aware of those kind of awkwardly worded sentences at times, and there were a couple of things about Gabe's powers that I was very confused about and weren't explained. But yeah, overall, a fun time. And I gave it 4 stars. Did I say that? I gave it 4 stars. Next one I gave 4 stars to. I got an art copy of this book. It is now out. And that is The Keeper of the Tower by Michaela Bush. This is book 5. This is book 5. Wow, I forgot the number for a minute. This is book 5 in the Legends of Lanneria series. This is Christian non-magical fantasy, and I can't say much about this book. Obviously, it's the 5th book in a series. This series should be concluding this fall. I think that's the estimated time Michaela said she had for this book, but obviously it will depend on how she's writing, because she's currently writing the book. But yeah, I gave this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. Okay, so there's kind of this war going on, or there's this war brewing. Some psychopathic witchy lady wants to start a war with Lanneria. She wants to kill the main princess, and probably her husband too. Let's just be honest, she'd probably kill him too. And they kind of have to go into hiding, and there's other stuff going on at the same time. I think that's all I can safely say without spoilers. Yeah, and this time around we're in the heads of all of our previous main characters from the previous 4 books. We got all their points of view, and in that way, this really showed that Michaela definitely knows how to write different character voices, and they're all distinct from each other, because every time we flipped from somebody's head, I knew who I was, whose head I was in, how they think, how they talk, how they act, that sort of thing, and I really enjoyed that. I mean, I always enjoy that element in books, but sometimes it's really hard for some authors to differentiate character voices from each other, which I totally get. It's very, very hard if you have a lot of characters to make them all sound different and distinctive from each other. But she did a great job with this. I'm very interested to see how everything's going to get resolved in one book. I'm assuming this will be longer than some of these other ones will be. The last one will be, but I don't actually know. So guess we'll just have to wait and see. But I'm excited to read it whenever it does come out. Hopefully still later this year, but hopefully my mood allows, but I would really like to reread the entire series before reading the last one, because I do get a little confused with like the side characters and events, like, because I'm reading them as they're coming out. So they're all spaced apart, and sometimes I don't remember the finer details. So I would like to reread the whole series before the last book comes out, close to when the last book comes out, but we'll see how that goes. Regardless, I really enjoyed this one. I also used this for several reading challenges and prompts. Okay, so I used this book for Chantel's Read Your Bookshelf Challenge. That was, okay, the prompt for May was favorite, so I used it for that because both this series and Christian fantasy in general are both two of my favorite things, and Michaela's also one of my favorite authors, so it hits 3 things, so I used it for that. I also used it for Morgan's Christian Fantasy Reading Challenge for non-magical fantasy, because there's no magical elements in here. They do talk about, like, witches and witchcraft and stuff, but it is definitely a bad thing. The evil people are the ones using it, and it's clearly shown as a bad thing, a big no-no. So, I also used it for the Southern Charm Readathon, I think. Yes. Okay, I used it for Country Roads, Take Me Home, a book in a series, or a reread. So, obviously, I used it for the book in a series prompt. And now we're going to swing back to more My Hero Academia stuff, because apparently I just can't get enough of these characters. So I had seen about School Briefs. This is a light novel series, so this is a prose novel about these characters. These are just little side adventures set at different times throughout the series. This is volume 5. I just picked this up randomly because the description of them finding an underground, like, dungeon underneath their dorm room sounded really interesting, so I picked it up. Light novels I've been having a problem with, mainly because they mostly use telling rather than showing in their storytelling, and the way they're written, for some reason, the words just stay on the page as words. They don't create a image in my mind, a movie, so to speak, which most books do, but light novels I have a terrible time because they don't really describe much of anything. So I don't know if it's because I know what these characters look like and do and what their surroundings look like because I've seen the anime and read the manga, so I don't know if that's the reason why I enjoyed this more than some of the other light novels I've tried, but I really enjoyed this. Or it's the way the author writes. Could be either way. But I really enjoyed this one. The first 2 stories in this volume specifically were extremely funny. Was the first time some of the boys find this, like, underground labyrinth thing, and that starts, like, attacking them. And then the teachers try to give Christmas gifts to Aerie, one of the characters. She's the little girl that they rescue in the main series, and that was so sweet, but also that was just hilarious. So yeah, I really like the other stories in here too, but those 2 were definitely my favorites. So I read volume 5, gave it 4 stars. Then I'm just randomly picking these up. I'm not reading them in order. I picked up volume 3, and I really enjoyed this one as well. My favorites of this one were the kids tell ghost stories at one point to each other, and then they freak themselves out because they think a ghost is living in their dorm. So that one was funny. There's also one, let me see. Oh yeah, there's another one of just kind of like Ida's life being the class president, and I like Ida as a character, so seeing it all from his perspective was funny. And then another one was written from one of the characters as a pet rabbit, and it was written from the rabbit's perspective. I thought that was very creative. My favorite in this one, though, is called UA Quest. It is like it's a bonus story of, like, the characters being in kind of like a Dungeons and Dragons fantasy-esque setting. So some of the characters were taken out of their superhero realm and they were put in this fantasy story. And I really liked that. I actually ended up reading that one twice because it was just so fun. I really enjoyed it. It really leaned into just the humor and the ridiculousness of everything. And I just really enjoyed that one. Like, it wasn't even the main part of this volume. It was just an extra story at the end. But I just really enjoyed that one. I thought it was so fun. I'm super curious if anyone ever continued a fan fiction of that story or wrote their own version of that, because that would be so cool if somebody did. I don't know how I'd ever find it, but that would be so cool if somebody did do that. But yeah, I really enjoyed that one. I gave this volume 4 stars as well, and I'm definitely going to try the others in this series. I've heard the first 2 aren't as good because they have a couple stories from a character not too many people like, so I'm a little more leery about those. But I'm definitely still going to try them. Oh look, I already forgot a prompt I used for a book. Wow, this is all over the place. So for the Southern Charm Readathon, I use Accidentally on the Run for one of the prompts, and that is free space thanks to Southern Hospitality, Reader's Choice. So I just used it for that one, and hopefully I can remember the rest of them now. I probably won't, but I can always hope. So then I jumped into doing another reread, which incidentally finished another series, and that is Nightmare Academy by Frank Peretti. This is the second book in the Veritas Project duology. This is a Christian young adult thriller-esque series following this family of investigators, these 2 parents and their twin son and daughter, as they investigate really strange occurrences that happen. I read the first book, Hangman's Curse, back in, I forget when, March? I think it was February or March. I read Hangman's Curse, which is the first book. This one, they're investigating this boy suddenly turns up out of the middle of nowhere. He was a runaway. He was missing for a long time, and he just suddenly turns up, and they admit him to this hospital, and he's like a raving lunatic. He's like talking nonsense. He is like talking about how the world is spinning and stuff like that. So the Springfields, our main characters, they're called in to investigate, and what they find is a little strange because both their kids then, who are also trained to be investigators, they kind of get kidnapped and taken to this place called Nightmare Academy, aka Nightmare Academy, where these people are like teaching these kids that truth does not exist, and therefore they can basically do whatever they feel like. And it has always been a very, very creepy concept for me. This book still kind of creeps me out to this day because it is very, very reminiscent of, like, what the world devolves into if there is no truth and there's no God to believe in and anything like that. And I've seen some of that now in the world today. You can see some of that happening now, and it's kind of terrifying because this book was written back in 2001? 2002, and it's like happening now. I mean, it's always been happening, but it's like it's more obvious, and yeah, that's always been kind of scary, but which makes this a very good thriller. I'd also focused a lot more on character development for our 2 main characters, Elijah and Alicia, which the first book didn't really do, so I think that's why I've always liked this one a little bit more. Yeah, my only disappointment with this is that I'm kind of disappointed the author never continued this particular series beyond 2 books, but hey, at least it didn't get ruined later on or have a bad book at the end, so at least he quit while he was ahead. So yeah, gave this book 4 stars, also used this for the Southern Charm Readathon. I used this for the prompt, well, I declare a mystery thriller or book with twists, and it kind of had all of that, so yeah. I would definitely recommend this duology if you can find it. I don't know if it's in print anymore, but you can definitely still find it, like, probably at libraries. I originally read the series at my library. So yeah, but I would definitely recommend this for both teens and adults because it's a really good series. And this book in particular really makes you think. So then we dip back into the 3-star range, and that is with, okay, this has an extremely long title. The Boy I Loved Became the Jaded Emperor. Volume 1. So this is a manga. Wow. I just forgot that for a minute. This is a manga. Basically in this one, okay, this prince, yeah, I think he's a prince of this kingdom kind of gets dumped in the woods because his stepmother, I think it is, doesn't want him to rule the kingdom one day. So he gets dumped off in these magical woods where he is rescued by this, like, strange little green lady monster thing. So they kind of become their own little family, but then his past catches up to them, and literally they show in the first panel, so this is not a spoiler. The knights find him. They think his green monster friend, who he has nicknamed Pie, is out to kill him and is, like, harming him, so they kill her. So that's quite traumatic for a, I don't know, 12-year-old, for his savior to be slaughtered in front of him after he tells the soldiers, no, don't kill her. Great that they listen. anyways, due to some kind of magical powers he has, it transfers to her when she's dying, and she gets reincarnated as this lady here, Eleonora. Eleonora, is that her name? Yes. Yeah, and it goes from there, because Alexei, our main character here, he is supposed to be finding a wife, but he's kind of like supposedly like called the Demon Emperor because he's ruthless. I honestly don't know why he's called the Demon Emperor. He's not that bad, really. Considering what he has to do, it's like, okay, sure. So he cleaned out some corrupt court and the corrupt knights. So, like, justice is served? Okay, whatever. So anyways, and he doesn't know right away that Eleonora is Pi, because, like, how can he? And, yeah, they kind of get thrust together, and they eventually fall in love. It's kind of the main story of this. This was fine. I really didn't have much of an opinion. The art is gorgeous, though. I will say that. This is, like, the artwork. It's really pretty. So the artwork is gorgeous in this series. It's a 2-volume series. However, I don't know, the story was just kind of there. Like, I like the idea of a monster, like, adopting a human child and raising it. So yeah, and I liked the art. I liked Eleonora's design, especially. I thought she was really pretty. I don't know, it was just okay. I gave it 3 stars. I was going to read the 2nd volume, but I got it from the library. I kind of just looked through it. So I kind of just skimmed it since I was only mildly interested in this one. So I just skimmed that one, and it ended fine. It was okay, but I wouldn't have given it higher than a 3-star, and I didn't really feel like sitting down and reading it all the way through. So yeah, I just didn't bother reading it. But if you like light, fluffy romance series, yeah, this would probably work for you. If you like a little more depth in your stories, or a little more action, or a little more tension, this probably won't work for you. It was fine. I didn't really much care for it. Very beautiful artwork, though. Then, because that one and some other books I was reading at the time that were just more 3 stars, it was kind of bumming me out in my reading. So I picked up a book that I knew I liked several stories of, and that is Tell Me You Love Me. This is an anthology of different short stories from a variety of authors. They range in genres from, let's see if I can get them all. Contemporary, historical, fantasy, dystopian. Most of them are contemporary or historical. So with only, I think there were about 3 fantasy ones, 1 dystopian, and I think that's it. The rest of them were mostly contemporary or historical. I did not read this whole thing. I have read this before. I read an arc of it when it first came out in, I think 2023 was when it came out. And it doesn't have a copyright. Huh. It doesn't seem to have a copyright. That's interesting. Oh no, here it is. Yeah, 2023. So I read an arc of this when it first came out, and yeah, I just read the stories I really liked. So yeah, I just reread the stories I really liked the first time around, at least most of them. And yeah, it made my mood go up, and yeah, I really enjoyed those stories. The stories are really good in here. There were a couple in the historical ones. One was very sad, and the other one, I didn't like the writing style. It was very disjointed. That one often gets pointed out in the other reviews, so apparently it's not just a me thing. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Didn't read all the stories, but I read most of them. Again, it's a Christian anthology too, so they're all the genres I mentioned, they're all Christian. I re-gave it 4 stars. Okay, and now we're gonna go into another 3-star. This one I have a very long review for, so if you want more thoughts on this, I would highly recommend checking that review out. I worked very hard on it, and I really am pleased with what I came up with. This one is an unpopular opinion. This book is very well loved by the indie Christian fantasy community. I did not enjoy this, though. I did enjoy parts of it. I didn't ultimately like it enough to probably ever reread it again. Let's just put it that way. That is Sea Spoken by Sarah Delina White, right? Yep. Yeah. This book, it is a kind of a forbidden love story between a mermaid, which are called Merrock in this story, and an elf. And their peoples have been at war for a long time. I forget how long. And they're both just sick of this war. And they have, so the elf, which I'm not going to say their names because I have no idea how to say their names. So anyways, our elf guy, he is a prophet of, what did they call him? The Eternal and the One Who Is. So that's the names for God in this world. He is a prophet of God, in essence. And he has been given this vision of seeing the Marok princess, our main female lead. And they are the two who are going to bring their peoples together, basically. So, yeah, they meet. They kind of instantly fall in love. It's definitely insta-love. And they basically work together to try to bring their peoples together and stop this war, which is really hard to do when both sides are literally horrible. That was not very nice, but I honestly do not see the point in saving either of these peoples at this point. Okay, I'm just gonna get this rant out of the way. Most of these people, okay, most of the time if you're doing a story, at least that I've seen, of the story where, like, two opposing sides hate each other and the main characters are trying to unite them or whatever, make them stop fighting. And usually, in that case, they then give, like, a friend of the main characters or something on the other side to show, usually, like, those are the people behind them or whatever, even if they're doubtful of what they're doing. They're like, yeah, we support you. We want to end this war. We want to unite or whatever. Usually they show at least one or two characters on both sides that want to do that. So then it makes you kind of, like, feel sympathy for that side because there's a character you can latch onto to like, that sort of thing. This book did not do that. Like, for the elf side, by the time we got to a character who was kind of our main guy's friend, of a way, by the time we got to that, I didn't really care. Like, at that point, I was just like, to the two leads, just get married or run away together. Like, seriously, these people are not worth it. All they did was, like, distrust their own, you know, prophet and princess, and, like, they just didn't want to change, and they were just awful, and I don't know, I didn't see the reason, like, okay, our main leads are obviously better people than me, because I would have just been like, okay, I've got my man, I'm out of here, because you guys are not worth it. But they're better people than I am, so they continued to want to save their people. I don't know why, but, so, yeah. So that was very frustrating. Also, I thought, okay, I am one who does not mind the insta-love. I actually kind of like it sometimes. It depends on how it's written. This one was, I liked it in the beginning, and then they kind of kissed way too soon, in my opinion. I was just kind of like, oh, we're doing this now? And then, I don't know, it kind of just fell flat in the middle. And then, like, I liked them together. I liked a lot of things about this story with the action. I liked a lot of things with the romance. I liked the two main characters. There were a lot of things I just didn't either care about or didn't like at all, like their people. But I don't know. I just thought maybe they should build up their relationship a little bit more. Maybe build up some kind of, like, anticipation in the reader before they started kissing each other. And, like, I don't know. Sometimes it felt like it bordered on, like, insta-lust occasionally. It wasn't, like, a lot, but it was kind of there. There's also two fade to black scenes in this story. One involves kind of some clothes coming off first, but, like, neither one of them were described in any way, even emotionally, which was very interesting. So they didn't bother me, but I know they might bother some people. The other one is at the very end of the book. Like, that's how it closes, which I thought was an interesting, way to do it. Also, in this culture with the Marok and the elves, basically if you do the deed together, you're basically considered married, so it's not even like they did it outside of marriage sort of thing, because it's kind of just like, we did it, so we're married now. That's how their cultures worked, so there is that part in there. But yeah, overall, I liked some things. Other points, though, I really just wanted to quit the book, but I decided to see it to the end, but at the same time, I also didn't want to keep reading it. So there are parts and times I did like it and I wanted to keep reading it. And then there were other times when I certainly did not. So yeah, I gave it a 3-star. It's pretty much a generally unpopular opinion. Most people seem to really love this book. So yeah, if it sounds interesting to you, dive right into it. Also, the faith content, since this is a Christian fantasy, was also really well done. I really liked that part, especially because it focuses more on, like, when God tells you to do something. and you decide to follow it, his will, and it's really, really hard. So yeah, I really liked that message and how she wove it into the story. Also, the world building was never overwhelming or info dumpy. It was spread throughout the story in reasonable amounts, and we were told stuff when we need to be told stuff. I liked that part, but like I said, liked some stuff, didn't like a lot of stuff. 3 stars is where I landed with it. And I also used it for Morgan's Christian Fantasy Reading Challenge for an original story. Okay, then we have my other nonfiction that I read this month. That is 5,000 Writing Prompts. And I covered up the tagline. Let me just peel that off so I can read it. A masterless... Actually, never mind. I can't read it. The library sticker is directly over it. So anyways, it's 5,000 Writing Prompts by Bryn Donovan. So this is just a book full of lists of different prompts for different genres, different, like, using dialogue prompts, using whatever, things that they can speak, objects that you can put in. So, I ended up giving this 3 stars. So, this is not a book you read straight through. I kind of did, though, so that's partially why I think I had a low rating. But I was also doing it because I wanted to see if I would want this book for my own, like, writing collection. So, I kind of just read it. I skimmed a lot of stuff. I didn't read everything. So, my overall feelings, I gave this 3 stars. I found the genre prompts for, like, different genres, like YA, fantasy, whatever. I found those more helpful, the most helpful. Also the, like, which other ones did I find? The dialogue prompts. And that was about it. So, I don't think a lot of these would spark very many ideas in me. Yeah, the genre ones were the most helpful in that area, but most of the other ones were just kind of there. Different people are going to have different opinions. Yeah, it just kind of was there for me. I wouldn't buy it for my own collection. This is definitely, get it out from the library on occasion when I need something and see if it would help. Like, one of the prompts gave me an idea for a story I'm planning, but that was it. So yeah, 3 stars. Might work for some people better than others, but it was just kind of meh for me. I've got 2 more books to talk about, and then we are done. This is going to take a lot of editing. Anyways, so I get to talk about my one and only 5-star book for this month. I loved this book, and now I am in a slight reading slump because of it. But it was so worth it. That is A Wizard's Worth by Brittany Fisher. This is the 2nd book in the The Wizard of Vegas? Yeah, The Wizard of Vegas trilogy. This is a clean urban fantasy series. I got an ARC for this book, so thank you very much to the author for sending me a copy. I was thrilled to get this book because I've been waiting for this ever since book 1. I read the ending of book 1. I really wanted things to work out. I cannot say, like, anything about this plot, but it put me through the emotional ringer. I just things that happened at the end of book 1 were continued in this book. New things were added to this book, new challenges. I felt so bad for poor Everly and poor Ethan. Ethan, I think that's how you say his name. I really hope I'm not saying his name wrong, because I love him. And he went through so much. I felt so bad for him, because I understood the way he was feeling. Like, he was feeling a lot of, let's just say, a lot of loneliness and separation due to something that his evil grandfather, I hate that man. I hate him more than the actual villains. He is just bad news, and he just needs to be, I don't know, bloop, thrown off a cliff, blown up. I don't care. He just needs to go bye-bye, because he is awful. I hate him. If that wasn't clear, he is the narcissist to the 10th degree. I hate his guts. He is a manipulative jerk who needs to be thrown, have a millstone tied around his neck, a millstone tied around his ankles, and thrown to the depths of the ocean and never return, because he is awful. I hate him. Anyways, back to poor Ethan, who was put under this by his grandfather. Thankfully, he called him out on it at the end of that book, and I just loved that part, because it was like, yes, get him, because he deserves it. Anyways, Everly did too, and I was like, yes, get him. Anyways, everyone was calling that dude out, like, I hate him. Like, Pandora's Key, the main group that they're going after, the actual villains, they're terrible too. I hate their guts as well. But I think I hate the grandfather's guts more, just because he's a manipulative jerk who I've already said how I want to throw him away, but, you know, we can light him on fire, too, while we're at it. Fire that can't be put out by the sea. That would be a just ending. Anyways, I doubt he'll get that, but it would be nice. Anyways, poor Ethan. He suffered with all this loneliness and separation from everybody else, and I felt that way more often than I would care to admit. And she described it so well, like, feeling that way, and I was just like, I just feel so bad for you. Everly was trying to help as much as she could, but she couldn't. She had her own problems. I loved both of these characters are amazing. The ending, after everything happened in the climax, was so satisfying. I am so excited for book 3. It needs to come out faster, but I know she has to write it, and I know how that feels to want people want your book, and you have to write it. So I know how that feels, so no rush to the author, of course, but I also still really want the book. So I'm looking forward to September when that one is set to come out. I'm so excited, but I love this book. 5 stars. Wonderful. I used it for 2 prompts, also in the Southern Charm Readathon. I used it for Bless Your Heart, a book that tugs on your heartstrings, because it did in all the ways, which is why I'm not emotionally recovered yet. Let's see. And I also used it for Hold Your Horses, a slow burn romance, or a book that takes time to unfold. I used it for the slow burn romance because that was not by either of the characters' designs, the slow burn romance. Let's just put it that way, but it was very satisfying when we got to the end. Yeah, they're just amazing. I love those characters. I just love them all. And I definitely like one of the characters I kind of didn't really care for much in the first book, Sumin. I liked her in this one. I'm warming up to her, and I really hope she gets a book series as well, because this author's going to be kind of like doing the same thing with, like, Cam Shea is doing Magiford, where it's multiple series set in the same world, possibly with the same villains they're dealing with, and I am so here for it, because I want more books like this. Yes, give me them all, because I just want them all, and I hope Sumin gets a book, because I would like to know more about her. She's a character I didn't really particularly like in the first book, but I like her now. So yeah. Anyways, I'm going to stop fangirling about that series, and get to the last book, which is a reread for me. That is Mia's Riding Camp by Anna Selberg. This is a middle grade contemporary horse adventure story. In this one, our main character, Mia, who is very shy, she and her fjord horse, Burley, they go to a summer riding camp for a week. And yeah, it's basically her experiences there, gaining new friends, gaining confidence in herself, and yeah, that's pretty much the whole story. I read this one a lot when I was younger. I always really enjoyed this. This is the only book by that author that I actually like. This was translated from Swedish into English, and I think it kind of shows, because some of the sentences are really awkward. Like, at one point it switched from past tense to present tense. That was really weird. And there's some weird occurrences throughout. I'm going to have all those in my review, so I'm not going to list them all here because this video is getting long enough already. But if you're curious about all the strange things I found that are either A, the writing style, or B, the translations and possibly errors, I would recommend checking out that review, because I'm not going to list them all here. But there were some that were very strange. Yeah, this isn't as well written as I used to think it was, but I still really enjoyed this. It's still a fun time. It's still a nostalgia read for me. And yeah, and at the time I was reading this, I was wearing a shirt that completely matched the cover entirely. So, you know, I don't normally color match to my books, but it worked for that one. And that is it. Those are all the books I read in May. This is going to be a very long video for Editing Sarah in the future. Hi, Editing Sarah. You're going to hate my guts. I know you are. Anyways, yeah, those are all the books I read in May. I'm just going to wrap this up really quickly because this is long enough and I have to go feed my animals. So, mainly my pony, but she's the only one who eats. The goats are all like, ew, hay. We don't want hay. But we'll scream at you that we want hay anyways. Because goats cannot make up their minds for anything. So just, and also, that thing where they say goats eat everything, that is a lie. Just so you know, because anyone who owns goats knows that. It is a lie. Goats are the most fussy eaters in the world. Anyways, yeah, I'm just gonna wrap this up. thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you all enjoyed all my rambles about these books. If you have any thoughts, notes, comments, you want to talk about books you either disliked or liked that you read in the month of May, please leave them all down below in the comments. And if you have any requests that you would like me to make videos of, please leave those down below in the comments as well. I need some ideas. So if anyone has anything that they would like me specifically to do, please leave them down below and I will take them into consideration. No promises I'll get to them anytime soon, but I will definitely try if it's something I can manage. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time.